Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Confident Coaching Podcast. I'm Jillian, and today we're going to talk about 3 reasons your clients might have stopped filling in their check ins. And this is something that I hear from coaches all the time where a client will often begin, and at the beginning of coaching, they're super motivated, they do all the things, they check off all the boxes, and at some point, they start to do a little bit of like a slow fade out. And coaches are like, are they disengaging from coaching? Are they going to quit? What the hell is going on? And often that shows up in clients just skipping check-ins. And then the coach is like sending messages. They're like, hey, girl, like, haven't gotten your check-in. Or like, hey, hope everything's okay. And you feel like you're like an anxious partner, like trying to figure out if your partner is cheating on you, right? So I want to offer a few reasons why clients stop filling in their check-ins, and I also want to give you some ideas for what you can do about it. I'm also going to mention at the end, I offer one-off consult calls for coaches if you want to like audit your check-in process or your onboarding, or if you have specific things that you want to work on in your business and you want personal feedback on that, you want someone else's eyes on that. So I'll talk about that more at the end. But let's jump into why clients stop filling in check-ins. So the first reason is your check-in is boring or it's just not helpful, right? And that might feel like, knife to the chest. But what this actually looks like is a check-in form that is just a bunch of like, it's a grid of numbers. It's macros, it's scale weight, it's steps, it's sleep, it's water intake. And it's all data that the client is like, first of all, this is fucking boring. But also, it's data that they're like, this is only important for my coach. So your check-in form, they're just thinking like, oh, I'm doing a quote unquote favor for my coach. They don't see the benefit in it specifically for them. And the coach is often thinking, yeah, but if you don't give me that info, I can't help you. But we want to think about like, what's the immediate benefit to our coaching clients, right? You probably, if your check-in form is boring or unhelpful, you probably don't talk a lot about like emotions. You don't talk about experience. You don't give reflections. You don't have any sort of like problem solving questions in there. You might have like a little thing at the bottom that's like anything else, or like you have like one little square at the bottom of all of this data that people are supposed to fill out. And it feels like someone submitting a progress report rather than like, hey, I'm actually reflecting on what's going on. I'm learning more about myself. I'm setting myself up for success, right? And so, yeah, clients are going to stop filling it in because it doesn't feel like they're actually having this like personal experience. It feels very transactional. It's not supporting the like growth or self-awareness or self-efficacy that you want to be supporting in your coaching. And so what the hell do you do about it? I want you to think about your check-in like this. Your check-in is for your client's benefit, not yours, right? We often position it as like, clients should do their check-in so that I can do my job. And it's like, no, actually, your job is to help your client get results, right? And how do you help them get results? You help them become better problem solvers. You help them think differently about things. You help them analyze and make decisions. That is how you do it. Yes, you also provide education, but if they're just like filling in a huge grid of numbers and then handing it to you, like that's not a coaching relationship. And I like to think about it like this. Even if you didn't give your client feedback on their check-in, they should leave that check-in with something useful, right? So they should leave that check-in being like, oh, I could do this, or I'm thinking differently about this thing. I also encourage you to like stop with all of the typical metrics that like macro certs tell you that you need to know, like millions and millions of different pieces of biofeedback. And I would encourage you to define metrics that are important to your client versus just like the typical things, right? Like I'll often talk to coaches and they're saying, "Oh, well, my client is tracking weight, but I don't know if that's a good idea." And it's like, "Well, why are they tracking their weight if it's not helpful to their process?" And it's like, "Well, that's just what they're supposed to track." We need to be thinking critically about these things. And then the last thing, I would encourage you to ask questions that actually help your client reflect on and analyze their own behavior instead of just reporting numbers. So you've got a couple things to think about here. The second reason your client is probably not filling in their check-in is they're feeling shame. And this can often look like maybe they've had a tough week where they haven't lived up to the standards that they have agreed with you in coaching, right? They didn't do the 3 workouts that they told you to do. They didn't stick to their protein intake. They didn't track their macros or whatever that is. and they feel like they're failing and they feel like they're disappointing you as the coach. So they're feeling like my coach is going to judge me. I'm disappointing them. Yes, even if you're like, I will never judge you, they may still feel that way, right? And so it's easier to avoid the form because then they also avoid the discomfort of having to face, like, oh, I didn't live up to my standards. And this is yet another reason why having a ton of data is really unhelpful, right? Like we want minimum effective dose of data, of like numerical data. And behaviors are data, emotions can be data. We want to be using more of that as well. And if we think about it, shame, so guilt and shame are different. So guilt is a pro-social emotion. Like if I felt like, oh crap, I didn't call my friend back, I might reach out to my friend and call them, and that would repair the relationship, and that would be really supportive. That would be pro-social. But shame is anti-social. So shame is like, I'm a bad person. What is wrong with me? I should just hide, because if I don't hide, then my coach is going to judge me. They might not want to work with me. I'm probably their worst client, right? And when your check-ins feel like an evaluation, it's normal that your client is not going to want to report if they're not living up to like what the standard of the evaluation is. And then the longer that shame goes, the harder it can be to re-engage. And so this is why having check-ins that are set up to support like analysis and thought and reflection and compassion is so important. And I would also encourage you that, we always talk about like progress isn't linear, but really talking about setbacks and struggles from day one, talking about it in your onboarding, talking about it in your calls, like how you want to encourage them to think about setbacks. I think this is something that coaches need to be doing more in content as well. Instead of like, here's my client's wins, is actually talking about like, what are the struggles that this person has had? What are the setbacks that this person has had? And how have they overcome them is really, really powerful. And when you offer feedback to clients or when you speak to them, normalize challenges and difficulties, like name them. Don't just say like progress isn't linear and everybody struggles. Like actually talk about the struggles that your ideal client tends to deal with. And then when you're giving feedback or talking to them, I really want to encourage you to affirm their strengths, values, and efforts, not their outcomes, right? So not like, oh my God, girl, I'm so proud of you. You lost 3 pounds. Because then what happens if they gain those 3 pounds back? But it feels very different to be like, hey, you've been really putting effort into making sure that you have protein on your plate every day. And it looks like that's really paying off. Like that, ooh, that effort. Yes, I can put effort into that. Right? Awesome. All right. Last reason I have here. This is not the last reason your clients stop filling in check-ins. This is just the last one I have in this podcast. So your client's overwhelmed and you've got like 3 different apps. You've got like your resource, then your community and your habits to track, and you're sending emails and you're sending them all of these things. And there's all of these tasks. There's all of the stuff that your client is supposed to take on. And the check-in is like another thing on the to-do list. And your client may really care about this, but they might feel kind of maxed out. And we need to remember that coaching is just part of like the overall cognitive load that your client has in their lives, right? Like coaching is incredibly important to us. It's like coaching is often the center of our world. It's our job, right? But it's just a small part of your client's life. And so this is why it is really, really important to be able to understand your client's capacity and what they're able to take on. And we also need to manage our own anxiety as a coach of feeling like, oh my God, I need to do more. I need to be better. I'm not giving them enough, right? Because we always want to over deliver, but over delivering might actually backfire, right? Clients need time to integrate material. They need you to repeat things over and over and over. They need time to build skills and self-efficacy. That is part of like self-determination theory, sustained motivation, competency is part of that. Competence, like building skills and feeling like, oh, I'm getting better at this thing, right? And that takes time. We also, coaches often forget, like we know these things. Like for us, it just like we know what a balanced plate is. For a client, that may be really overwhelming to think about that in every single meal, right? And so what do you do about it? Calm the fuck down. Your client doesn't need to know or fix or do everything at once. And if you are structuring your intake, onboarding, and your overarching program effectively, you will be from the beginning instilling that like long-term mentality in your clients. We know that like behavior change can take anywhere from 6 months to 2 years, right? It takes a long time. But a lot of coaches are selling like 6, 8, 12-week programs, and then you're like, oh, I got to do everything at once. No, you don't need to do everything at once. You can still sell a certain length program. And part of that is also selling that as like, hey, this is the beginning. This is what we're going to be able to do in 12 weeks. Be really realistic with that. And then it also sets you up for like longer term retention because you're not overloading your clients and they're feeling like I can't do this because there's too much, right? And specifically for check-ins, please, for the love of whatever, stop responding to every single little issue in your client's check-in. So if there are 17 problems, you should not be responding to 17 problems. If I, for example, let's say I was mentoring you and you come to me and you give me like a list of 12 things that are going wrong and I give you feedback on every single one of those 12 things, you're probably going to feel like a deer in headlights of like, wait a minute, what am I supposed to start with? How do I do this? Right? And it's even going to be a little bit easier for you as the coach because you're like, wait, this is my business. This is important. Like, I want to check these things off the list. But we need to remember that your client has a lot of other shit going on in their lives. So they're not going to listen to 17 things that you tell them to do in their check in and do all of them. They're probably going to be like a deer in headlights. So instead of just throwing tasks at your clients, choose what's most important. And also, when you're speaking to them, talk to them about what actually feels doable for them. And one of the specific ways, so this is also in the motivational interviewing guide that is linked in the bottom of all of my emails. And to get on my email list, you can do that in the show notes. But there's this question that's essentially like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident do you feel that you can do this thing? And if the answer is less than an 8, we want to understand why. And we want to help them identify, well, hey, how can we help you feel more confident, whether it's like lowering the difficulty level, whether it's teaching them something, helping them build a skill. All of that stuff is important. So those are the 3 reasons why. Well, as I said, those are the 3 reasons why I'm telling you right now that your clients may be skipping check-ins. They're not the only reasons. And those reasons are your check-ins are boring or unhelpful. Your client's experiencing shame or fear of judgment. Your client is overwhelmed and has a ton on their plate, right? And I want to remind you that when your client disengages, that's feedback for you. That's not, you're not failing as a coach. That's feedback of, oh, I either need to switch up my check-in or I need to look at my onboarding or I need to understand how to communicate better, right? So ask yourself, what might be going on beneath the surface before jumping straight to like, oh, I got to send my client 15 messages and like chase after them, right? And as I mentioned, I gave you some very specific things that you can look at in your check-in process that can support your clients being more consistent with those things. Anyways, let's wrap up with a friendly reminder that I do offer one-off consult calls. If you would like support with updating check-ins, maybe you want to audit a part of your business or a part of one of your coaching programs. And if you would like to schedule a one-off consult or you have questions about how consults work, go ahead and DM me the word consult on Instagram. I have linked my Instagram in the show notes. You probably already follow me. If you don't, the link is there. And we can talk about what a consult might look like for you and what you would like to achieve in that consult. And if you heard anything and you're like, hey, I'm totally going to change that in my check-in, thank you for that. Send me a message. I would love to hear if you had any like light bulb moments or anything that you are going to change in your check-in process. So with that, thank you for listening. Thank you for being here, and we will talk very soon.